The arrival. The war chamber of the HFY Empire hummed with anticipation as holographic star maps filled the vast circular room. Supreme Commander Zekthul stood at the center, his four arms clasped behind his chitinous back, studying the three-dimensional display of conquered systems that glowed in proud crimson. His compound eyes reflected the light of 100 subjugated worlds. "The Terran sector remains our final obstacle," Zekthul announced, his mandibles clicking with each syllable. Intelligence reports confirm their fleet consists of merely 300 vessels, scattered across 12 systems. We outnumber them 50 to 1. Around him, lesser commanders chirped their agreement. The HFY had swept through the galaxy like a plague of locusts, devouring civilizations that had stood for millennia. Their strategy was simple and effective: overwhelming force, total domination, absolute control. Sub-Commander Velkar stepped forward, her sleek form adorned with the trophies of conquered races. "Supreme Commander, our advance fleet stands ready. Shall we begin the assault on their border worlds?" Before Zekthul could respond, a priority alert pierced the chamber. The tactical display flickered, zooming in on a section of space near the Terran border. A single point of light blinked into existence, a ship dropping out of faster-than-light travel. "Report," Zekthul barked. The sensor operator's voice trembled with confusion. "Supreme Commander, we detect one vessel. Configuration matches Terran design. It's approaching our staging area." Silence fell over the war chamber. The assembled commanders stared at the display, watching the solitary dot move steadily toward their armada of 10,000 warships. "One ship," Velkar scoffed, her laugh a series of sharp clicks. "The humans insult us with this pathetic gesture. Perhaps they've come to surrender." But Zekthul didn't share her amusement. Something about this felt wrong. No species in their right mind would send a single vessel against the might of the HFY fleet. Unless... "What class of vessel?" he demanded. "Unknown, Supreme Commander. The energy signature is unusual. Our databases show no match to any known Terran ship classification." The human ship continued its approach, maintaining a steady course directly toward the center of the HFY formation. It made no aggressive moves, broadcast no demands, sent no communications. It simply advanced with mechanical precision. "Shall we destroy it?" Velkar asked, her hand hovering over the weapon controls. "No," Zekthul said slowly. "Open communications, all frequencies." The communication officer worked frantically at his console. "Hailing on all channels, Supreme Commander." No response. Minutes passed. The human ship drew closer. Its size became apparent on the sensors, larger than a destroyer but smaller than a battleship. Its hull was an unusual design, smooth and seamless, with no visible weapon ports or shield emitters. It looked more like a work of art than a weapon of war. "This is Supreme Commander Zekthul of the HFY Empire." Zekthul broadcast personally. "You have entered restricted space. State your purpose or be destroyed." Silence. The ship's energy signature pulsed strangely, creating patterns that made no sense to HFY sensors. Some readings suggested it was barely powered, while others indicated energy levels that shouldn't be possible for a ship that size. "Supreme Commander," the sensor operator's voice rose in pitch. "The ship is... I'm not sure how to describe this. It's like it's partially phased, existing in multiple quantum states simultaneously." Zekthul's compound eyes narrowed. "Explain." "Our sensors can't get a solid lock. One moment it reads as solid matter. The next it's like it's not entirely there. The quantum fluctuations are unlike anything in our database." A chill ran down Zekthul's exoskeleton. The HFY had encountered many technologies in their conquests, but this was unprecedented. He made a decision. "Deploy Scout Squadron 7. Standard containment formation. I want that ship scanned from every angle." 6 sleek fighter craft launched from the nearest carrier, racing toward the mysterious vessel. They formed a perfect sphere around it, maintaining safe distance while their advanced sensors probed every inch of the human ship's hull. Scout leader reporting, came the transmission. Beginning detailed scan. The hull composition is... Wait, something's wrong with our instruments. Getting massive interference. The scout ship's signals began to distort. On the tactical display, their icons flickered erratically. Scout leader, report your status. The flight coordinator called. Systems, failing. Can't. Maintain. The transmission dissolved into static. One by one, the 6 scout ships simply vanished from the display. No explosions, no debris fields, no emergency beacons. They were there one moment, gone the next. The war chamber erupted in chaos. Commanders shouted orders, demanding explanations. Sensor operators worked furiously to understand what had happened. But the human ship continued its steady approach, unchanged and unaffected. Battle stations. Zekthol roared. All ships, defensive formation Alpha. Weapons hot. 10,000 warships moved with practiced precision, forming layered defensive screens around the command carrier. Enough firepower to glass a dozen worlds trained on the single human vessel. Yet still it came, silent and serene. Supreme Commander, Velkar's voice had lost its earlier confidence. What are we dealing with? Zekthol stared at the display, his military mind racing through possibilities. No known technology could make ships simply disappear. No single vessel, no matter how advanced, should inspire such dread in his battle-hardened soul. I don't know, he admitted quietly, but I'm beginning to understand why they sent only one. The human ship had crossed into medium weapon range. Every targeting computer in the fleet locked onto it, yet something prevented them from firing. It wasn't fear exactly, but a growing certainty that whatever happened next would change everything. The sensor operator's voice cut through the tension. Supreme Commander, it's broadcasting something, not a communication. It's mathematical equations, physical constants, quantum formulas we don't recognize. Display them, Zekthol ordered. The main screen filled with cascading symbols and formulas. Most were incomprehensible, but scattered among them were fundamental constants of the universe. The speed of light, Planck's constant, the gravitational constant. But they were wrong. Changed. As if the ship was rewriting the laws of physics themselves. By the ancient swarms, breathed the chief science officer. These equations, if they're correct, they describe a state of reality where our weapons, our shields, our very existence becomes malleable. The human ship had stopped. It hung motionless at the exact center of the Vexi fleet, equidistant from every major vessel. The quantum fluctuations around it intensified, creating visible distortions in space-time. Supreme Commander, the communication officer's voice shook. We're receiving a transmission. Audio only. Play it, Zekthol commanded, though part of him wanted to refuse. The voice that filled the war chamber was calm, almost gentle. It spoke in perfect Vexi, despite no human ever learning their language. Greetings, Vexi Empire. I am Ambassador. I represent humanity's first contact protocol for aggressive species. You have gathered to invade our space. This is your opportunity to reconsider. Zekthol found his voice. You are one ship against 10,000. You are in no position to make demands. Your count is incorrect. The voice replied with what might have been amusement. There is only one ship here, and it is not mine. The tactical display flickered. For just a moment, every Vexi vessel disappeared, leaving only the human ship. Then reality snapped back, and the fleet reappeared. What was that? Velkar gasped. A demonstration. Ambassador responded. Your ships exist because I allow them to. Your weapons function because I permit it. Your reality continues because I have not yet decided otherwise. The arrogance should have enraged them. Instead, the quiet certainty in the voice sent waves of primal terror through every Vexi present. This wasn't a bluff. Somehow, impossibly, it was truth. You can't possibly, Zekthol began. Your scouts still exist, Ambassador interrupted. They've simply been relocated to a pocket dimension for their safety. Would you like them returned? 6 flashes of light appeared around the human ship. The missing scouts reappeared, their crews unconscious but unharmed. We have no interest in killing, Ambassador continued. We are explorers, scientists, and dreamers. But we learned long ago that the universe contains those who mistake kindness for weakness. So we developed alternatives to traditional warfare. The equations on the screen change, showing new formulas that hurt to look at, concepts that the mind couldn't quite grasp. What are you? Zek-Thul whispered. I am what humanity became when we realized that reality itself is just another frontier to explore. Your empire expanded through space. We expanded through dimensions you cannot perceive, manipulating you cannot comprehend. This vessel isn't a ship in any sense you understand. It's a focal point, a place where our true selves can interact with your limited reality. The war chamber had fallen completely silent. 10,000 ships, the pride of the Vex-High Empire, waited helplessly for whatever came next. But we are not conquerors, Ambassador said. We are teachers. We offer you a choice. Return to your space. Abandon your plans of conquest. Learn to coexist with other species. In time, when you're ready, we will teach you to see beyond the veil of simple reality. And if we refuse? Zek-Thul asked, though he already knew the answer. Then you will learn a different lesson, one about the fragility of existence and the mercy of oblivion. The quantum fluctuations around the ship intensified. Space itself seemed to bend and twist, creating impossible geometries that made even looking at them painful. Choose wisely, Vex-High Empire. This is your only warning. The revelation. Supreme Commander Zek-Thul stood frozen at his command station, his 4 hands gripping the edges of the tactical console so tightly that the metal groaned under the pressure. Around him, the war chamber remained silent except for the quiet hum of 100 monitoring systems, tracking the lone human vessel that hung impossibly at the center of their massive fleet. Supreme Commander, Sub-Commander Velkar whispered, her usual arrogance replaced by barely controlled fear. Your orders. The question hung in the air like a blade waiting to fall. 10,000 ships, each armed with enough firepower to devastate continents, waited for a single command. Yet Zek-Thul hesitated, and in that hesitation lay a truth he couldn't voice. He was terrified. All ships, he finally spoke, his voice carrying the weight of inevitable choice. Target the human vessel. Prepare for concentrated bombardment. Supreme Commander, the Chief Science Officer interjected, his antennae twitching nervously. The quantum readings suggest any attack might have unpredictable consequences. We are the Vex-High Empire. Zek-Thul roared, his momentary doubt replaced by desperate pride. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. We will not be intimidated by one ship. The order went out. Across the fleet, weapons powered up. Energy readings spiked as antimatter cannons charged, quantum torpedoes armed, and graviton beams focused. The combined power could shatter moons, rip apart stars, and reduce entire solar systems to cosmic dust. All ships report ready, the tactical officer announced. Fire. Space itself seemed to hold its breath. Then, in perfect synchronization, 10,000 ships unleashed their fury. Beams of impossible energy converged on the human vessel from every direction. Missiles traced brilliant arcs through the void. The very fabric of space-time rippled under the assault. For a moment, it seemed as though the universe itself would tear apart under such concentrated destruction. The light was blinding, the energy readings off every scale. Sensor systems overloaded and shut down to prevent permanent damage. Then, as quickly as it began, it ended. The human ship remained, untouched, undamaged, unchanged. But the space around it had shifted. Where the attacks should have struck, reality itself had folded, creating a perfect sphere of inverted spacetime. The weapons fire hadn't been blocked or absorbed. It had been redirected into dimensions that shouldn't exist. Impact assessment. Zek-Thul demanded, though his voice cracked with the beginning of understanding. "No damage to target," came the stunned response. "Energy discharge patterns suggest our weapons fire was diverted through non-Euclidean space. It's as if the ship exists in a state of quantum superposition, simultaneously there and not there." The voice of Ambassador returned, still calm, still patient, like a teacher addressing particularly slow students. "That was unwise, but expected. Your species, like many others, believes that force is the ultimate arbiter of reality. Allow me to demonstrate why that belief is limited." The space around the human ship began to ripple, not with energy or matter, but with something more fundamental. The quantum equations on the display screen evolved, showing transformations that violated every known law of physics. "Watch closely," Ambassador said. "This is what humanity discovered when we stopped looking outward and started looking inward." One of the Vex-High battleships, a kilometer-long dreadnought bristling with weapons, began to change. Its hull rippled like water, its solid matter becoming fluid, then gaseous, then something beyond any state of matter the Vex-High could comprehend. In seconds, the mighty warship had transformed into a perfect crystalline sculpture, beautiful and completely inert. "Matter is just energy in a different form," Ambassador explained. "Energy is just information given shape, and information is just thought made manifest. When you understand this, the universe becomes infinitely malleable." "Stop!" Zekthul screamed. "What do you want from us?" "What we want," Ambassador replied, "is growth, evolution, transcendence. Your empire has spent millennia perfecting the art of destruction. We offer you the chance to learn creation instead." The transformed ships suddenly reverted to their original forms, their crews unharmed but deeply shaken. The message was clear. The humans could reshape reality itself at will, but chose not to destroy. "This is why we sent only one ship," Ambassador continued. "Not because we underestimate you, but because we understand something you do not. True power isn't measured in the number of weapons or ships or soldiers. It's measured in understanding, in perspective, in the ability to see beyond the veil of simple reality." The chief science officer stepped forward, his curiosity overcoming his fear. "These quantum equations, they suggest a unified field theory beyond anything we theorized. You're saying humanity has mastered the fundamental forces of reality itself." "Mastered? No. We've befriended them. We've learned to dance with the quantum foam, to surf the probability waves, to paint with the colors of collapsed wave functions. And we discovered something wonderful. The universe wants to be explored, understood, shaped. It's not a battlefield. It's a canvas." Zekthul felt the weight of command, the burden of choice. His entire military career, the whole foundation of Vex-High society, was built on conquest and domination. Now he faced something that made all of that meaningless. "If you possess such power," he asked slowly, "why haven't you conquered the galaxy yourselves?" Ambassador's response carried a note of genuine sadness. "Because conquest is a failure of imagination. Why take by force what can be shared freely? Why destroy what can be transformed? Your empire has spent so much energy on taking that you've forgotten the joy of creating." The tactical display changed, showing not weapons or ships, but worlds. Thousands of them. Dead planets transformed into garden paradises, barren moons becoming thriving ecosystems, dying stars rejuvenated and burning with new life. This is what humanity has been doing while you've been conquering. We've been gardening on a cosmic scale, creating new life, new possibilities, new wonders. And we protect our garden from those who would trample it. The implications crashed over Zekthul like a tsunami. The humans hadn't sent a warship. They'd sent a gardener. And that gardener had just demonstrated that the mighty Vex-High fleet was nothing more than weeds to be gently relocated. "You spoke of choices," he said finally. "What are our options?" "Simple. Return to your space. Cease your expansion through conquest. Learn to cooperate with other species. In time, When you've proven you can create rather than destroy, we'll teach you to see the universe as we do, or, or, or continue as you are, and discover that reality itself will simply forget you exist. The threat was delivered without malice, which made it infinitely more terrifying. The Vexi could fight enemies, could overcome obstacles, could conquer opposition. But how did you fight an opponent who could simply edit you out of existence? I need to consult with the High Council, Zekthul said, his voice heavy with defeat. Of course. Take your time. We are patient. We have learned to think in geological time scales, to plan in stellar life cycles. Your decision today will echo through dimensions you cannot yet perceive. The war chamber erupted in heated debate as soon as the transmission ended. Commanders argued, scientists theorized, and philosophers, long ignored in Vexi society, suddenly found their voices heard. We cannot fight this, the chief science officer stated flatly. What they've demonstrated goes beyond technology. They've achieved something approaching godhood. Gods can be killed, Velkar snarled, but her bravado rang hollow. Not these gods, the officer replied. They don't rule from above. They've woven themselves into the fabric of reality itself. Fighting them would be like trying to battle gravity or time. Zekthul listened to the arguments, but his decision was already made. The weight of it pressed down on him like the mass of a neutron star. Everything the Vexi had built, everything they believed, would have to change. Signal the fleet, he commanded. We're returning to Vexi space. The protests began immediately, but he silenced them with a gesture. We face a species that has transcended our understanding of power. They offer us a path to something greater than conquest. We would be fools to refuse. The human ship pulsed once with that strange quantum light, and Ambassador's voice returned. A wise choice. You'll find your path home. Easier than expected. Space folded. Reality twisted. And suddenly, impossibly, the entire Vexi fleet found itself back in their home system, thousands of light years from where they'd been moments before. In the aftermath, as reports flooded in from across the Empire, the full scope of humanity's action became clear. Every Vexi invasion fleet on every front had been similarly returned home. A galactic empire spanning 10,000 systems had been gently but firmly placed back where it started. They did this to all our forces, simultaneously. Across the entire galaxy, Velkar couldn't hide her awe. A gardener removing weeds, Zekthul murmured. Not with violence, but with careful transplantation. The paradigm shift was painful, but inevitable. The Vexi Empire began the slow process of transformation. Weapons factories retooled for construction. Military academies added courses in cooperation and creation. The vast machinery of conquest gradually, reluctantly, turned toward a different purpose. And in the space between spaces, in dimensions folded beyond perception, humanity watched and waited, ready to teach, ready to guide, ready to welcome another species into a larger understanding of what the universe could be. Years later, when the first Vexi students were accepted into human reality-shaping academies, Zekthul, now an ambassador himself, asked the question that had haunted him since that first encounter. Why did you really send just one ship? His human counterpart smiled, a gesture Zekthul had learned to interpret. Because we knew that's all we'd need. Not to defeat you. Anyone can achieve victory through force. But to save you, to offer you a chance at transcendence, that required precision, care, restraint. The universe has enough destroyers. What it needs are more gardeners. As Zekthul looked out at the transformed Vexi worlds, planets blooming with impossible beauty, stars arranged in perfect mathematical harmonies, space itself singing with newly discovered frequencies, he understood. The humans hadn't conquered them. They'd liberated them from the prison of their own limited thinking. One ship, that's all it had taken. One ship to terrify them, humble them, and ultimately save them from themselves. In the end, it wasn't human weapons that proved superior. It wasn't their technology or their numbers. It was their imagination, their vision of what the universe could become if species stopped fighting over territory and started collaborating on possibility. The greatest empires in galactic history had fallen to humanity's gentle touch, not through defeat, but through elevation, not through conquest, but through enlightenment. And it all began with a single ship that wasn't really a ship at all, but a doorway to a larger reality. The universe, as humanity had learned and the Vex High were beginning to discover, was not a battlefield to be won. It was a symphony waiting to be composed.